Hey guys, welcome to this week's podcast episode. And I've got a fantastic guest for you today. Greg Mohr dubs himself as the Franchise Maven, and he is going to talk to us all about franchising, which is becoming more popular, what it is, how to get into it, what to look for, pitfalls. I'm happy to welcome him to the show. Greg, welcome.
Christopher, thank you very much for having me today, sir. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so I know we connected through Podmatch, and briefly talk about your story, what you do, how you got there, and how the audience can benefit from your expertise.
Oh, thank you, Christopher. So I got here actually from a long time ago. Back when I first started getting into work when I was 16, I actually went to work for Taco Bell back then when I was 16, and I ended up realizing that I worked for a master franchisor. She owned about 50 Taco Bell restaurants throughout the Sacramento area. So I moved up in her ranks and became a manager and helped her grow her Taco Bells throughout the Sacramento, California area. So it was my first foray into franchising. I spent another 15 years in the restaurant industry, spent 15 years as a microelectronic circuit engineer. While I was the engineer, me and another engineer, we bought a dry cleaners, privately owned, storage units, and I had some rental properties. And then I got my master's degree in business, read Robert Kiyosaki's book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. That just about ruined my corporate career for me. I realized there's something better out there than the 9 to 5, or in my case, 7 to 5. So I sold off all my half of the business to my friend, and he got out of the corporate world the same time I did. And then I said, I got to get back into that franchising thing. That is a lot of fun, or that was a lot of fun back then. And I think I want to do that again. Found a great franchise consultant. He helped me get into a franchise, a telecommunications consulting franchise. I did that for a couple of years, very successful. Dennis Schooley Mitchell Telecommunications Consulting. He really set the stage for franchising. Great training, really a step-by-step process. I never was wondering what to do next. Really loved it. But I really liked what that franchise consultant was doing. So I told myself, I got to go back to that franchise consultant. I got to find out what he's doing, and I got to do that. Because that's helping people throughout the United States and actually throughout the whole world, helping them realize their dreams. So what I do, Christopher, is I help aspiring entrepreneurs and seasoned entrepreneurs at that, get into the world of franchising, and I help businesses flip their business into franchising if they so choose.
Yeah, and what's really interesting is I'm familiar with the concept of franchising, and it's I'm a real estate investor, and what's really interesting is that I'm just noticing certain trends is that the cost of real estate is increasing, and it's also harder and harder to get into these things because you got to put up a lot of upfront capital. It's got all these costs. So like, why franchise? Because it's like your risk of failure is really high. Sometimes I know a lot of these franchises, a couple 100,000. You could make a lot of mistakes. So why franchise? I'm just curious.
Yeah, that's a great question there, Christopher. So we'll do a little bit of statistics on this one. So there is actually around, I don't know the exact number, but probably about 5,000 franchises in the United States today. But the average number of franchisees they have is about 20 on that one. So about 5% of those franchises make it to 100 franchisees or more on that one. So yes, depending on which franchise you get into, there could be a lot of challenges there, especially with these ones that have 20 or less franchisees, because that's more of an emerging franchise. They haven't quite hit that threshold of 50 or 100 franchisees where they hit the point where they're going to make it on that one. So yes, there will be some challenges. Success rate, as you investigate franchises, you will find out what the franchisor's success rate is at finding the right franchisees for their business and how the franchisees are doing. In their franchise disclosure documents, under item number 20, I believe it is, there's a list of people who are currently running the franchise and a list of people who started the franchise and are no longer running the franchise. Really easy math to get a success rate on that. We like to see 85 or 90% or better on that one. So when you're investigating a franchise, if you want to reduce your risk down quite a bit, look for the franchises that have 100 or more franchisees. That doesn't mean an emerging brand's any better or worse than that. It's just going to be just a little bit more risk on your part. Less risk when you get into 100 or more franchisees. Check the franchise disclosure documents for your success rate on that one. So you want to see 85 or 90% or better And the franchise really has a proven model and a track. They have that track record, but they have that process and procedures that you follow step by step. So if you follow them, your chances of success are that much greater. But so you've got to be able to make certain that you do have, there's going to be a little bit of risk. So you got to realize there's still going to be some risk in whatever business you do, whether it be real estate or whether it be, a privately owned business or a franchise. There's still risk. So you got to be able to handle that risk, and you got to be coachable, and you got to be able to follow a process or procedure.
Yeah, which is brings me to my next point is, which industries are because if you look at, like, for example, you mentioned Burger King or McDonald's or the restaurant industry, they operate on razor thin margins. So which industries are kind of like blue chip bread and butter versus, like, because I was looking at some franchisees and there's like stuff in like healthcare, there's like all these, how do you distinguish which industries to go into?
That's a tough one. So that's what kind of determine which industry that my people like. It's something I work with them on, is as far as which one is their favorite, Christopher, or which one do they feel best about, not necessarily their favorite. Which one would they feel good about? Could they see themselves operating? So that's going to change person to person. When they ask me, they're not real concerned. Some of them are not real concerned about the industry in particular. They really just want something that's less risk and that makes a good decent amount of money. So when we're looking at that, essential services would be the ones where we'd be looking at, Christopher, where we see a little bit less risk. Like you mentioned, the health industry on that one. That one's been around. It's going to be around for a while, whether that be senior care, urgent care, chiropractic, those labs, those kind of things. They did just fine during COVID, and they will continue to do just fine because healthcare is essential. You've got to have good healthcare. Other things that are not too terribly exciting, HVAC, heating and air conditioning, plumbing, electrical services. Those are essential services. So when it's broke, it's got to be fixed, and it's got to be fixed now. Maybe not the most exciting of businesses or franchises, but they are great money makers. They're great in the way that they're essential services. Tutoring is another one that's an essential service, especially during COVID, because the parents had to make certain their kids were being taught. So tutoring took off. So healthcare, senior care, essential home services, tutoring, all great franchises that will definitely reduce your risk. And you don't have to know in-depth knowledge. You don't have to have in-depth knowledge of that industry. The franchise will teach you everything, and you'll learn a lot from the franchisees along the way. You just have to be rather enthusiastic and feel good about that particular industry that you want to get into. Sorry, I lost you there, Christopher.
Sorry, yeah, I was, what are some of the common challenges that franchise owners face, and how can they overcome them?
Well, the first thing is you've got to be able to find the time, and you've got to be able to find the money for the investment level. So that's the biggest. I don't know if that's the biggest challenge. The biggest challenge, Christopher, I would say that they have to overcome is, if they've never done it before, is fear of the unknown. That's the biggest one. If they've never run a business before, you've been in corporate, you've got that nice steady paycheck every couple of weeks, you're addicted to it. You show up for work, you do an average or better job. Generally, they're going to pay you, and they're going to keep paying you. So you get kind of addicted to that. So it's that step into the unknown that people have to overcome. And the way to do that is really thinking about, where do you see yourself, 5 to 10 years from now? You've got a great track record. Everything that's in your head, all those experiences you had, that's a great track record. And franchises are looking for people with experience like yours on that. But you've got to see yourself 5 to 10 years from now and realize that I'm not going to get where I want to be doing what I am currently doing. Something must change to do it. So you've got to overcome the fear of the unknown. And we do a lot of that when we go through and we talk to the franchisors and the franchisees, so you get real familiar with it. And then just being able to come up with the time, because you can do it without leaving your day job. You just hire a manager to do it for you. We go into, those are what's called semi-absentee or semi-passive franchises on that one. So you're going to have some time for it, 10 to 15 hours a week. So that's one of the obstacles that you're going to have to come up with, is that time. And then you're going to have to write that check, that investment that you're going to put into it. And those are probably the three biggest things that people have to overcome when they're getting into a franchise. But I think the fear of the unknown, if you're brand new to it, is the biggest thing. My seasoned entrepreneurs generally don't have any issues with that because they've done it before. Even the ones that have started their own businesses after they've been doing their business and started a few businesses of their own, they'll come to me and they'll say, I want to get into a franchise. And, these are all the businesses that I started before in the past. And I'm just looking at, or look at them going, why do you need me? Look at you. You look at everything you've done. Go start another business. They're like, no, no, no. I know what it takes to start a business on my own. I don't want to do that again. I want to have something I can just step right into and just hit the ground running. Simple as that.
Yeah, which really interesting. And so kind of talk about financial, like what are the various ways of financing a franchise? How should one approach the due diligence process? And what should they know about these the contracts?
Great questions on that one. So financing on this one. Easy to do. There's two different ways to do it, basically. Using your money, using other people's money. Simple as that. Most of my investors love using other people's money on that one. If you get into one of the services franchises that we were talking about, electrical, HVAC, that sort of thing, you're probably looking at an SBA Express loan, $150,000, $200,000. You put down about $20,000. You got good credit. That's all it takes. You're in and you're going. If you want to get into something that's more of a brick and mortar, some of those health services franchises, or a restaurant, or hair salons, that sort of thing, where you have a build out, then you're probably going to be going with a 7A loan. So you're going to need to come up with about 20% on that one. So that's going to be a little bit more. Now, my investors who like using other people's money just want to make certain that that investment can service the debt. To find that out along the way, we talk to as many franchisees as possible. So going back for a second to the franchise disclosure documents, in there's going to be an earnings claims in there of what their franchisees are doing. They generally have it broken down to the top ones, the middle ones, the lower ones. So you're going to get a good feel for how much you can bring in with that franchise in a certain amount of time. You're going to verify, you're going to validate all that information by talking to as many franchisees as possible until you start hearing the same thing over and over again. That way, you get a real good feel for how much can I make, how soon can I get there, and most importantly, what do I got to do to get it? Oh, one thing I forgot, Christopher. Excuse me. Using other people's money or using your own money. So I didn't go into using your own money. My apologies. Using your own money. That would be like a 401k plan from a former employer that you had on there, or an IRA. You can do a self-directed rollover on that one. And that's what I did to start my business. I had a 401k after I left my employer from a previous employer, and we do a self-directed 401k with that, or IRA. And what you do with that is that you create your own C corporation. You create a checking account for your C corporation, and it's called the self-directed 401k because now you can buy stock in any company that sells stock, basically. So you're going to buy stock in your company. So you just transfer the money over. It is basically simple as that. The complicated parts, we have people that'll take care of for you, keep you in compliance with the IRS. They'll do all that, making sure you issue the stock certificates and that sort of thing. It costs about $5,000 to get the whole thing done. But if you don't want to use other people's money, you don't want to go into debt, which I did not, it's a good way to go.
Yeah. The other question I have for you is, what should potential franchise owners know about franchise agreements and contract negotiations?
Right. So I'll have a franchise. I actually have about 3 franchise attorneys that I'll send over to everybody for them to go over the contracts with. There's a lot that can be changed in the franchise agreements. There are a few things, and our franchise attorneys will know what can be changed and what can't be changed on that one. The franchisors want to keep everybody on the same playing field. So once you get up to 100, 500 franchisees, it's not like, your corporate environment where everybody's got a different contract. Everybody came in at a different rate, and everybody's got different, times of vacations and all that. No, everybody's same playing field. So nobody's different. Everybody's the same on that. There will be a few things. Contracts generally for 5 to 10 years. The most important thing that franchise attorney is going to do for you is let you know what you're getting yourself into and making sure you're okay with that.
So the next question is long-term growth and exit strategies. And how can franchise owners expand their business through vertical or horizontal growth? And what is your advice for someone looking to turn their business into a franchise?
So growth, long-term growth, horizontal. That means you love that franchise that you're in, and you want to take out as much area as you can. So that's most people, I don't know, most people, I think my average is about 2 or 3 territories. So each franchise gives you a protected territory on that one. So within that protected territory, no other franchisees can come in. They call that one territory. If you feel real good about your franchise, the franchise that you're talking to, you might want to take on more territory at the beginning. I suggest doing one. Start with one, make sure it does good. If that does good, then the adjacent territories go on and out. That's one of the things the franchise can do, the franchise attorney can do for you, is give you the right of first refusal. So if you start with one territory, then if anybody else comes in and wants to buy adjacent territories, the franchisor has to let you know, and they'll sell it to you first so that you can grow out. But horizontal growth is how you're expanding out that way. So you might take over a portion of your city, then all the city, then all the state with the same franchise system. You just got a big territory. Vertical growth, that is where, say, you got into the home services industry, you're doing the lawn care. Quite a few franchises have different franchise groups within their franchise system. So like the neighborly brands, for instance, you could do their lawn care, you can do the maid service, you can do the electrical, you can do the plumbing. So what you can do is, after you have that one territory and you want to expand out, now you can expand out into other services. So that's your vertical growth. So after taking care of their lawn, then you can take care of their maid service, and so on and so forth. So you're doing just still that one geographical territory, but you own the home on that one. So called owning the home. Businesses, there's a few businesses where you can do similar things, where you can do maintenance and you can do cleaning as well. So you own the business itself. Exit strategies, a couple different ways to go on that one. So I have a lot of people that would like to get resales, franchise resales. I don't get a whole lot of good ones, because what happens is you tell the franchisor, again, your contract is for 5 to 10 years, but that doesn't mean you have to stay in that franchise for 5 to 10 years. You can sell at any time. You tell the franchisor you're going to sell. Now, assuming you're doing quite well and franchise is doing good, making some profit, the first thing the franchisor is going to do is going to tell other franchisees around you that you're selling. So most of the time, especially when you're doing well, another franchisee is going to pick that territory up because they're not too far away from you. So that's why I don't get a whole lot of good franchise resales on that one. If there's no other franchisees that are ready to pick your business up, then the franchisor will tell us as consultants. And there's a few different franchise consultant groups. I'm in one of them. And so you've got now probably a couple thousand franchise consultants helping you find a buyer for that. So generally they go pretty quick on that one. The other way is, some people just like to build a legacy income on that, and they'll just keep it, and they'll just train their kids to do it, and then they'll just turn it over to their kids. So you've got a good legacy income going on that. Did I get all that answered?
Yeah, yeah. And I know we have, 5 minutes remaining. So kind of what the other question I have for you is, so we talked about selling a franchise, and talk about kind of the mistakes to avoid when selling a franchise. And you seem very knowledgeable. So how can people contact you and find out more about you and see what you're all about?
Okay, I'll try not to go more than 5 minutes. As you can see, I can go all time on that. So also, the other thing that we're going to talk about is, if you want to turn your business into a franchise, we can do that as well. I've turned a few businesses into franchises. I've got teams that do that for you as well. As far as then the mistakes that are made, don't let what's in fashion or what seems popular right now skew your judgment on that. Know the business model, know how they're going to make money, know how they're going to make money in the future on that. Free advisors, the SCORE team is a SCORE. Always take advantage of free advisors as much as you can on that. I use the SCORE team in my area when I was looking into my businesses on that one. They'll help you out on that as well. They're business people who have been in the area for a while and have been, most of them are retired business people, so they know a lot about the area and a lot about businesses. So utilize your free advisors whenever you get a chance. The Chamber of Commerce as well on that one. Don't think that you're going to be a millionaire in a year, because you're probably not. It does take time to grow these things up on that one as well. Those are just, and take advantage of, look into the funding, using other people's money or using your own. So take advantage of that, and make certain that when you're looking into a franchise, that you know what their net worth requirement is. Most of the time, if they're a great franchise system, if you don't have the required net worth, they're not going to accept you, because they don't want you to run out of money, because then it shows up as a failure in their franchise disclosure documents. That doesn't look good for anybody. But anyway, if you want to get all my 7 different things to look out for and mistakes to avoid, you can go to my website, franchisemaven.com. That's franchise, M-A-V as in Victor, E-N.com. You can email me at greg@franchisemaven.com, or just pick up the phone and give me a call at 361-772-6401.
Awesome. Audience, let's thank Greg for coming on, and be sure to give his socials a like and follow. And thanks so much for coming on.
I appreciate you.